I'll do a low key. Okay, so never lose sight of the steps, right? First step is camera, second step is lighting, third is materials. So let's just do this first. Okay, and then, yeah, I'm missing a wall, so I'll just copy one of these walls and put it there or something like that. And just check the animation, make sure everything remains pretty well framed. I'd like the guys to be a bit bigger, so I'll do like a bit of a worm's eye. And even changing the framing. So for example, this is kind of HD-ish. Ooh, I'm not even in Arnold. Let's do this first. Okay, so you can do it custom. Like I'll just increase, I'll reduce the width to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So essentially we're rendering the animation sequence, but are we also including motion blur in it, or is that like post? Or
are you also including what?
Motion blur.
Yeah, I think I showed you guys once how to do that. You can.
Could you show it again, because I honestly forgot.
Sure, no problem.
And yeah. I don't know how it would apply to animation, because you showed us how to do for still image, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing for animation.
Okay, the time when I did it for still image, I had to animate something for it to work, because I mean, if nothing moves, then there's no motion blur, right? So I think there was a ball or something, and I animated, or a rocket, I don't remember. So in the Arnold tab, there's a section called motion blur, and you just click enable. That's it. I wouldn't change anything else. So it happens over half a frame, and I think that's kind of the natural way to do it.
So I'm guessing if there's more space between the frames, the motion blurs can be more intense, right?
Yeah, so it really depends how fast things are traveling.
Okay.
And so just like in real life, so if something travels a distance in 100 frames versus traveling the same distance in 10 frames, then it's like one's going to be super fast and the other one will take its time. So the one that went fast will be a blur. And I think things that move sort of at a normal pace will have some degree of blur anyways. I'll keep it on. Good idea. Okay, so I'm just setting, I think the size is good, the frame shape. And yeah, and for this exercise, because I'm going to put out an MP4, keep it, maybe keep the width at 640 or less. Okay, just to make sure that there's no issues with your RAM, your computer memory, and all that. Okay, so it's more of an exercise of how to do this than the final result. So you could do this in HD for your final films next year. All right, so that's done, and we'll look at batch rendering again in a moment. So step 1 is camera, step 2 is going to be lighting. Okay, and I'm doing my low key. I want this to be, because it's kind of mysterious, like what's in the box, make it a little spooky. Okay, so Control-Shift-C. I'm locking my camera. And next, we'll do lighting. So I'm going to use a spotlight. Let's see. And see, my camera is here looking this way. So I'm going to key light them from here. So it's at around 90 degrees, or maybe I'll go even steeper. And above. Oh, the light doesn't show up here. Whatever. And it kind of disappeared everywhere. Luckily, I can see where that green line is pointed. And that's where the light is aimed. Okay. Okay, getting better. Okay, that's pretty good.
Sorry to interrupt, Ed. I might have
Yeah.
missed this part, but it says on the instructions that we need to use our own automated sequence. Is that actually?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it would be more interesting than having everyone do the same sequence.
Well, I mean, most of us are in the same class, so I imagine we have the same assignments for animation that we'll use anyway. So.
Okay, it's true. All right. Yeah, and if your sequence goes over 200 frames, and just pick 200 frames of it. Don't go over 200 frames.
All right.
Okay. So just looking at lighting, these guys are lit pretty well, but the unlit side disappears. So looking at the size of the viewport, it's we're not reading the whole shape. So I'm going to put a light at the base of the wall and just have it kind of create a gradient going upwards. Or maybe I'll go from up to down. We'll see. So what will I do? Let's put an area light. There's a lot of stuff in the way in the top that I can't get to my menu. Just move this down. Okay. Okay. So. Yeah, I think I'll just put it up here and have it light the wall downwards. Yeah, lights aren't even showing. Kind of hard to work that way. Okay, normalize. Yeah, so that really solves the problem. It's too bright, but that's really what I'm aiming at. And I'm just going to turn it this way so that we'll turn it diagonal. And just move it down a bit. And I like that it's off camera. Actually, it's not, but I like it to be off camera just so the light's coming from here. Yeah, it's good. Oh. So let's make something else. No, it doesn't work. I'm going to use a spot because, or actually a point light. Okay, so same place. And far enough from the wall that the beams can actually reach the wall. If you bring it too close, then it just lights the immediate area, and then the beams become the angle becomes too steep and it doesn't light. So let's bring it out. Yeah. And worst case, if it lights more than I want, I could just use the include to have it affect only the wall. So exposure. Whoa. Okay, and it's lighting too much of the characters. I find cheating on the lighting using include exclude is a bit of a last resort. Like it's a bit of a cop out. I prefer to pull everything off, honestly. I mean, it's not that it's wrong or anything, but okay, so that's good, except that I need to turn it down and get it to work without excluding objects. That's the best. And we're assuming it's some kind of ceiling light. All right, so that works. I'm not going to dwell on that too long. All right, so lighting is done. Next, I'm going to save. Next comes materials. So luckily the materials here are looking okay. If they were too glossy, I would have to redo them. Yeah. Okay, that's it. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm not going to increase any quality settings because I don't want, it's already going to be kind of time consuming as it is. Ease in a bit closer. And now we're ready to render. So it's the same process as last week. Sorry, as when we did batch rendering. Except we're going to output like the number of images that we have as we have frames in our animation. So in my case, it's 200. I'm going to bring it into Premiere and then output our video. So here we go, File, Project Window. I'm going to make a new one, and I have a folder somewhere for this. Select, accept, and then set project, and you should go in here. Okay, so just make sure that's the place, and set. Okay, next you verify, so it's the exact same steps we did with the multipath shot there. So you make sure your path is correct, images. Okay, it's the XR. This is even more important than ever, is just having a prefix that makes sense. So I'm calling it shot 1. So pretend it's part of, it's one of the shots in your film. Okay, naming convention, you want name number.ext. So that'll be like shot 1, frame number.exr. Okay, now the range. Start frame 1. So you look at your animation. I have 200 frames. And here's what I was talking about. Oh no, sorry. I thought, no. Sometimes you might have more than one. So here I'm choosing my camera, but sometimes you might have also your perspective and 1 or 2 other ones. You need to scan them. Okay, so I'm going to render it pretty small. I recommend not going over 640. Some people go HD. So if you have the hardware for it, by all means, don't hold back. Okay, and that's it. So then you save your scene. Save. And you launch. So you need to be in the rendering menu. Render sequence. Make sure the first two, some people don't have that by default, so make sure they're there or else you'll have problems. And render sequence. It's just going to go, it's going to render one frame after the other. Okay, so while mine's doing that, you guys can get going on your, on setting up your scenes. And then I'll talk about what happens after in Premiere.
Yeah, Ed, can both shots be from the same camera angle?
No, I'd like you to do 2 different ones. It's not too much work to change a camera angle. It's
Does it have to be like a drastic difference? It could be a subtle change, like just change like, okay.
I like 2 different types of shots. So it could either be like if you have 2 characters, you're looking at one guy and then the opposite shot where you're looking at the other guy, or it could be, let's say, this kind